Amazon's moved from a growth phase to a profit phase.
We meet so many people that say, well, I tried this whole ads thing and it didn't work for me. Definitely not an ads problem. It's definitely a product page optimization problem.
Seeing how Rufus now is essentially trying to predict
Yep.
what you need before you're even searching for it.
Ads don't actually sell your product.
Yeah.
Ads are essentially an accelerator. So let's say you're walking down a street and you want to have something to eat. And there's always this restaurant that's so busy and people are standing in line. And then there's a restaurant facing it that's completely empty. And you're like, yeah, I'll just stand in line because this restaurant is so busy.
Yeah.
It's definitely much better than this empty restaurant. So essentially what you want to do on Amazon is you want to be this busy restaurant.
There are costs coming in left, right, and center, and it might seem so small, but it eats into your margins.
Advertising is no longer enough.
Hello guys, my name is Vincenzo Toscano and we are here in Milan for the Amazon Educator Program. I'm super excited to actually go in live with two of my closest partners here, Krista and George. And today we're going to be talking about the latest strategies when it comes to advertising on Amazon. So we're going to be discussing the trends, what is working, what are some of the mistakes you have to avoid, but more importantly, what are some of the techniques, especially entering into 2026, that you have to be aware of so you can maximize your success when it comes to scaling your brand on Amazon. So George, Crystal, it's a pleasure to be here. How you guys doing?
Very good. Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Ciao from Milano.
Ciao, ciao. You see? Speaking Italian already. Good. So we are super, super excited. And I think before we dive into the topic, because we have a lot of things to go over, it would be great if you guys can give us a brief intro about yourselves so people can know who you are. Then we can go from there. Yeah.
Sure. George, you want to get started?
Okay, thank you. I'm George, the founder of ClearAds, which is an ad agency based in the UK. We work with a lot of brands in the US, UK, and primarily Germany in the European marketplace.
Awesome. Kristen?
So my name is Crystal Abiassi. I'm the founder and CEO of Amazon Sellers Society and Sellers Society. We are a certified service provider for Amazon and an ads agency as well. We're based out of Dubai and we support sellers primarily on Amazon's most exciting and emerging marketplace, which is Amazon in the Middle East. Very excited to be here with everyone and very excited to just talk about, one of our favorite topics, which is advertising for sure.
Awesome. Love it. Let me also give you a quick intro about myself so you also know who I am. So as I just mentioned, my name is Vincenzo, founder and CEO of eComcy. We have full service when it comes to scaling brands on Amazon. We do this globally. So we do everything in-house when it comes to PPC, branding, SEO, everything under essentially the roof when it comes to scaling brands on Amazon. And hopefully with all the expertise that we have, and you try scaling these brands, those are going to be some of the things that we're going to be discussing today in terms of the tips and what is working. Awesome. So let's start, guys. I think to kickstart this episode, I think one of the most important things is being aware of the trends. I think advertising is being changing significantly the last couple of years, especially this year. There's been so many new announcements. I was actually reviewing Amazon Unbox, some of the things that Amazon has been releasing when it comes to AI. So a lot of things are happening. And I think that would be a good starting point, like having an overview of what you guys are seeing in terms of trends and what people should be aware of moving forward. Yeah. So maybe, George, you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So I always like to look at things from a kind of macro perspective before going into like the details. And if we're looking at just in the last year and the revenue Amazon's making just from Amazon ads, I mean, just this last quarter, it was $17.7 billion. That revenue stream is larger and growing at a higher rate than any other part of Amazon right now. So what this tells me about Amazon and any business general with this, when you see this kind of growth, is that is where the focus will be, right? And there's been so many signals over the last few years where Amazon is just being given so many more resources. So one, it's got more attention, it's got more resources, we have more data. So that's one component. The second component is AI. So artificial intelligence that's been integrated into Amazon now means that actually the data points and the signals that Amazon has, they're able to do way more with it. They are able to find signals and trends of who's going to buy. What is it that leads someone to purchase a particular product? So ads has become way more sophisticated without us even having to do much. So that understanding is so important. So to give you an example, if someone searches for a water bottle, right, Amazon will now know if it's a water bottle targeted towards gym enthusiasts, right? They're gonna want to buy a type of water bottle which is different to your grandma who's 90
Yeah.
and just wants a water bottle to keep hydrated
Yeah.
when she is walking around. So you don't need to differentiate now. Amazon will do that. It will understand the avatar and it will understand um, what they're looking for from a very broad term.
Yep.
So one is like another big thing is with AI is context has become so important. So more than ever, the description, the images, the title is more important to a brand's success now than it was a few years ago. Right? In a few years ago, you could have got away with murder. You could have had one image. You could have had like a few descriptions, and you could have done so much more. So, from a macro point of view, that's where we are now, and it's moving at a rapid pace, and it is incredibly well, not unpredictable, but intimidating
Yep.
for any single person looking with the rapid change
Yep.
in updates is coming. So that's where we're at now, I think.
Yeah, I would say to double down what you just mentioned. Of course, there is a lot of complexity that is now essentially entering the space. But at the same time, I think, and maybe Krista will agree on this. Like, this is also an opportunity because that means now people who put the time and effort to really reverse engineer the audience
Yeah.
can achieve a level of targeting that was pretty much impossible
Oh, yeah.
before. Like, you have so much granularity now,
Mm.
even with things such as Amazon Marketing Cloud, that now you know exactly who's your consumer
Yeah.
and when you have to invest every dollar amount. So I don't know from your
One
side,
of the
Krista,
things
what are you
that
saying
I
as well?
one of the things that I adore about the Amazon platform is that it opens up so much opportunity for SMEs and generally people that want to serve their clients and have their products out there. So with all of the updates that Amazon is making and updates in general in terms of technology, because I think that's one of the reasons why we're seeing such a rapid
Yeah.
changes in terms of Amazon ads for sure. It's just because the technology is just improving significantly week per week, not even in years. It just opens up so many doors for sellers, and it's really very exciting. I think it's a great time to be an Amazon seller for sure, and I truly appreciate the effort behind all of the tools and everything, and it's making it a little bit more easy for visibility in terms of ads, but it's also making it a little bit more difficult in terms of competitiveness.
Yeah.
So now we need to consider other ways of how we need to stand out because ads is no longer it's available for everyone. So just advertising is no longer enough.
Yeah. Now, I will say one of the things I would like to start moving the conversation to is pro launch, because let's be honest, a lot of people that are watching this episode today most likely are overwhelmed. They are hearing all this new tech that Amazon's releasing, all these new insights, and it's very, very complex, especially if you're an Amazon seller that just getting started, to figure out how to launch a product on Amazon.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you open your Amazon Ads console, there are so many options to go for, so many types of advertising.
Yeah.
And I'd like to spend a bit of time in there, like explain to people what are some of the foundations you have to be aware of, what is working, what is not working. So from your side, George, like maybe let's start with that side. Like when you're launching products on Amazon, what is your recommendation when it comes to advertising?
Yeah, I think I'll take it back to general principles. And even Jeff Bezos said this just a few weeks ago at a conference I think it was in Milan with the CEO of Ferrari. And he basically said, things evolve. Everything evolves. We will have new innovations, but actually human needs will always be there. And that's the one thing you can expect to remain consistent. So in this particular example here, and this is something I always drum about, it's ensuring that the percentage of people who buy your product from seeing your product is higher than the average. That is the biggest KPI when launching any product that you need to understand and get a grip on. And Amazon gives you all this information. All this data is at our disposal, free of charge. So that's the biggest KPI. So gone are the days where you can just find any given product and just sell it. The people who really win are the ones who spend really good amount of time crafting something that's going to be incredibly unique, because that end result is going to mean, one, people are going to buy. Two, it means they're going to tell others.
Yeah.
And three, that they might even purchase again. So all of these signals to Amazon is gonna tell Amazon this is a good product. So if you are starting with that, your chances of success are a lot slimmer than anyone who might be starting with a product which is almost identical to 10 others who have been around for a while,
Yeah.
who have reviews, who have a competitive cost because they got economics of economy of scale,
Yeah.
so they're able to sell more and also get a better rate. So that is what you're going up against. So initially, it's that product stage. Before you spend on ads, spend your time and resources on developing the product. Get a focus group, like put them together. What do you think is good? Don't ask your mum. She's gonna tell you great things.
She's going to tell you everything
Yeah.
is wonderful.
Exactly. So-
Yeah.
You're doing it right.
Yeah, so that general principle, getting that first right, and then everything else will move, and then you can go into the technical elements of which ads to run, etc. But if you got that right, oh man, you're gonna
Yeah.
start well.
Makes
I,
sense.
I think you mentioned there's something that is very important to highlight, which is at the end of the day, advertising is an amplification of the success that the product should have on its own.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big misconception when it comes to running advertising on Amazon, that people think that if your product is not successful because it's not a good product, or it's not actually providing a solution that the market is looking to receive, advertising is going to fix that. And advertising at the end of the day is only going to put traffic,
Yeah.
but if the product is not ready to essentially convert, it's going to be a big waste. So that drives me to essentially a question to you, Crystal. Like, you work with so many new sellers in your community that just at that phase, they're doing product development, they're trying to figure out what to launch next. And I'm curious to hear from you. Like, what are you seeing lately sellers focusing and spending most of the time that you're seeing is being one of the main elements to drive success when it comes to launching products on Amazon?
Both you, Vincenzo, and George made a very, very important and valuable point. Ads are essentially an accelerator, but what I always say is, and this is kind of somewhat controversial, ads don't actually sell your product.
Yeah.
So unless you're spending time, and nowadays, not necessarily, I align with you, George, but not necessarily creating a completely unique product, because at the end of the day, that's not always possible, but at least creating a unique value proposition, maybe creating a community around your product, something that gets you to stand out, rather than having to compete with 20 products that are very, very similar. So that would be something that is very valuable. One additional thing that I'd like to highlight is, and I'm sure a lot of viewers and listeners are going to agree with me on this, we meet so many people that say, well, I tried this whole ads thing and it didn't work for me. What do you mean? So people launch their ads, they spend a lot of money, maybe the first couple of weeks or even months, and then they don't find any sales from their ads, so they essentially turn them off, thinking that it's an ads problem. Whereas when I immediately instinctively hear this, now I know it's definitely not an ads problem. It's definitely a product page optimization problem.
Yeah.
Because an ad just leads people into your product page,
Yeah.
but it's the page itself that needs to convert. So I like to give an example, which is, we all travel, and for both work and tourism. So let's say you're walking down a street and you want to have something to eat, and there's always this restaurant that's so busy and people are standing in line, and then there's a restaurant facing it that's completely empty, and you're like, yeah, I'll just stand in line because this restaurant is so busy.
Yeah.
It's definitely much better than this empty restaurant. So essentially what you want to do on Amazon is you want to be this busy restaurant in terms of your optimization, the brand story, the way that you display your product and you explain the uniqueness of your product and you build a community around it. And I find that Amazon, with all of the updates and tools and the brand stories and the A+ content and pushing for that, essentially knows that this is what the customer wants.
Yep.
So that's what sellers need to focus on. And I no longer want to hear a seller that says, look, I'll just, do the bare minimum. And if my product sells, then I'll invest.
Yeah.
Because I always say that makes no sense. If I want to lose 5 kilos,
Yeah.
I'm not going to wait to lose 5 kilos and then go to the gym. I really need to go to the gym in order to lose the
Yeah.
5 kilos. So that's
Cool.
the idea.
Awesome. So now, what I would like to do, given that we have given all this introduction in terms of the trends and what is working, what is not working, and some of the overview of running advertising on Amazon, I would like to take some time to jump a bit into technicalities,
Yeah.
at least high level, because I think when it comes to running advertising on Amazon, as I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, there is a lot of sometimes overwhelm when it comes to what kind of advertising I should be running in the first place. Like when we go to sponsor ads, we have now sponsored products, sponsored brands, sponsored display, even sponsored TV. We have Amazon Marketing Cloud. So there is a lot of things to consider, and a lot of people don't even know where to start or what can be more impactful. So I would like to take a couple of minutes to maybe briefly touch on that. From your side, George, like tell us a bit more in terms of how you're making sure all these ads I just mentioned are part of the mix, and if so, what are some of the things people should be mindful of?
Yeah, yeah. So that's a good point. So if you're starting off, I think sponsored products is the first place to go. That's going to get the biggest return on the ad spend to get started. And that's kind of fundamentally when you understand what works there, you can then evolve into sponsored brands, take those terms that have converted, those ASINs that you've sold off, the products you've sold off, and then go into sponsored brands. And then sponsored display comes in later. You need the data first. So going back to sponsored product ads, when running them, a really good feature to look into is the search query performance report, because within just a few days of launching, you'll be able to see, as long as you're brand registered, okay, what are the terms that convert best? So ultimately, looking at first relevance, so finding the terms that are the most relevant, and then secondly, you want to look at, okay, where is the volume of traffic that's coming in, and also the amount of sales that comes in for those terms. You don't want to go for the biggest keyword to get started with. You want to start looking at terms that are lower down, that might not get that much traffic but get sales, and actually they compound if you put a few of them together. And then you want to measure the organic rank and the positions. Now, KPIs to look at this point would be the conversion rate, and we actually recommend at the very beginning, don't run auto campaigns, because auto campaigns can send the wrong signals to Amazon, and that in itself could basically work against you. It could get your products categorized into a different category, because you're converting for terms that you have no control over. So you want to start with potentially exact match. You want to go for certain terms, and basically what you're doing here is you're sending signals to Amazon. Hey, every time that search is triggered and someone clicks on your ad, how many end up buying? And every single time someone buys, Amazon takes that signal and goes, okay, this is a good product. This is a winning product. So we're going to now be biased and we're going to show it more often compared to another product that's had loads of ads served and go, this is a new product, but all of these other products, they perform better in sales because compared to other platforms, what you have to understand with Amazon is they also make a good return when the sale is made. So one, that's that there's an income incentive, but two, their main ethos is obsession with customers. So they really want to make sure that every customer gets the best experience. Now, the benefit is if you come in with a new idea, a new angle, and you're against Coca-Cola, Amazon does not care. They don't care what brand is out there. If you're coming in with a more compelling offer, that those first few weeks, they're going to check the signals. Okay, how is Coca-Cola doing? How is this big brand doing? How's this new brand doing? This new brand is making more sales. Get rid of them, and let's just focus on this new brand. And it's phenomenal to see it. This unbiased platform that comes in and just shows you. So there's so many things that work against you, but it's the KPI. So look at the conversion rate on a category level. So you can do this within brand metrics. You can do this in brand metrics, and then you can go down to the keyword level. On a keyword level, how many people convert on this term for your product compared to what's out there and others? And you can get that from search query performance data. If you're higher than average, then man, push that PPC budget as long as you've got the inventory. If you're not, you need to reevaluate and go, okay, where is it the keyword that's the issue? Is it the listing? Is it the image? Is it the product, the offering? What is it making us
Yeah.
underperform?
Yeah.
George, can I add an additional question
Absolutely.
on
Yeah,
top
yeah.
of that?
Yeah, yeah, go for it.
So, obviously, sponsored product ads are fantastic, but for a lot of sellers, they are under the impression that if you launch an auto campaign, you're automatically bleeding all of your, or whatever it's called, you're just spending money for no reason. So, in your experience, would you recommend auto campaigns or manual campaigns in terms of sponsored product ads for somebody that's just launching a new product?
Yeah, I would say manual campaigns to start with. Like give it a week or two at least, and then go into auto campaigns.
Yeah.
And
I will say
yeah,
actually to add
Yeah.
on
yeah,
that, I also agree that manual campaign should be the way to go when launching products on Amazon, because it's 100% the case that if you're launching automatic campaigns and then you don't have a pro details pages that is well optimized, and this comes from the perspective of having the right keywords on your title, on your bullet points, you have the right category in the back end, all the attribution in the back end. Usually what tend to happen is automatic campaign could start building kind of an indexation and attribution to their own kind of subcategories, and then that will allow essentially create complexity in terms of not being able to scale advertising properly on your main keywords. So I agree, like you should go for your main keywords when it comes to the initial 2-3 weeks. Something that nowadays with brand analytics is so easy to identify. You can have a look at which are the main keywords, having a look at the competition. You can even use the Pro Opportunity Explorer tool to also come up with some of the keywords that bring
that's a
in
good point.
most of the revenue. And I would say, to finalize your point around automatic, I would say automatic should definitely be part of the strategy, but automatic, it should always be launched once you have built that kind of strong attribution between what your product is
Yeah.
and what are the keywords you should go for, because at that point Amazon will have a pretty good understanding what your product is, and everything that's going to generate from there is going to be more accurate, and then from there you can move to an exact campaign, a phrase campaign, a broad campaign,
Yeah.
and do all the things that we
Yeah.
know about when it comes to PPC. Awesome. So now, something I want to briefly touch on this, just to also have some kind of introduction. Sponsor brand, sponsor display. Of course, sponsor products is the starting point for all sellers, but I think there's also some, a lot of potential that you can leverage when it comes to sponsor brand,
Yeah.
sponsor display. Let's start maybe with sponsor brands. I think you have a strong brand, you have good content, and you can really use that to your advantage. Sometimes it's a loophole that you can exploit to overcome your competition. So maybe you want to start first, Krista, and then
Sure. However, very much similar to what George said, specifically for a brand that's just launching on Amazon, we would definitely recommend to do that as a second phase, specifically because we think about, a 3-layer type of process. Layer number 1 would be, what type of a product is this that we're launching? Is this a hero product, or are we creating a hero product? Is this a helper product? Is it a variation? Or is it something that could be complementary to a product that already exists? Or is this a main sales driver or a main profit driver? So for each and every type of product, there should be a different type of strategy depending on what the brand wants to do. But certainly one thing that you need to think about is, second of all, market. So you guys hit on something which I asked related to the auto campaign. Since we focus on the MENA region and Amazon's what we call emerging marketplaces, the strategies that we see work are very different than what we support for mature marketplaces. So it's something to take into consideration. Where are you launching? Which market are you launching in? Because that definitely supports your the way that you overall do the strategy. And certainly when would be the right time to launch sponsored display and sponsored brand ads, which essentially do one very important thing, which is create your community, get you some brand awareness, which is very important. Yes, it might not lead to a direct sale, but it does lead to people discovering your product. I'm not sure you're aware of this, George and Vincenzo, but for generally in the Middle East market, we look at a very important metric called new to brand, NTB. And very much like you said, George, the NTB in both the UAE market and Saudi Arabia market is about 60 to 50%. which I explain to sellers is just insane. Like, imagine how easy it is to compete with these very well-known brands in real life. In retail, you would certainly not be able to do it, but on Amazon you are able to do it. So yeah, it's certainly a very important element of doing that brand awareness. But depending on the seller and what their KPIs are, what
Yeah.
their intentionality is, it's probably something that you would want to do further down the line.
Cool. George?
Yeah, so just going back to what we talked about earlier, I think a good illustration to show you auto and broad campaigns is you should use them as phishing campaigns. So they will fish to find you types of terms you can target and other products that you can have your ads appear on. And then exact match is more laser focused and sending the right signal. So just wanted to put that in there. And then going to this point here, when you move from sponsored products to sponsored brands, you have less real estate. So there's less space and more people want that space.
Yeah.
So that the cost can get out of control and your exposure won't be as much as sponsored product ads. So that's why it's really important you understand what are the terms and the products that actually do well for you with sponsored brands. Now, an extra benefit of sponsored brands and something I don't see enough of being done in this space is actually sponsored brand gives you the opportunity to split test different creatives,
Exactly.
different hooks, different pain points. And you can, rather than having 10 different hooks or points in one video, you can, or an image, you can have a different product, a different image for one particular campaign, targeting just that one pain point, that one hook. And you could be split testing the messaging, what works in real time. And that real time data can give you trends that you can then put into the listing. So sponsored brand has that benefit. So that's something that, I mean, I think they should really be companies that focus specifically on sponsored brands campaigns because there's so
Why
much you can
not?
do within that. So that's one component. Now, with sponsored display, I think the big difference with sponsored display is it's more push marketing than pull. So people weren't really looking for your product. They weren't really searching for you. You just forced yourself in front of them. So if you're going to force yourself in front of someone, that offer needs to be really compelling. So if you're just starting off and you have hardly any reviews, it's going to be very difficult for you to convince someone to purchase your product. And this is why with sponsored display, it's probably not wise to do it at the beginning unless it's an educational product. So if you need to educate the market, it's a completely different type of product that you're trying to sell. Then at that stage, it makes sense and it's going to be good. Now, the new tools and equipment that display has, you touched on it, Vincenzo, is Amazon Marketing Cloud,
Yeah.
and also the integration of all these signals brought into one. So and with display now, you got video, right? And Amazon has just been they've just been absolutely killing the programmatic space now.
Sure.
They have partnered up with Netflix, Disney, Spotify. Microsoft now has given them the keys to their kingdom. I have no idea they've done that. So they have all of this inventory, plus they have all of the buy-in signals, which you can now bring together. So display I'm watching carefully because this could be a different type of conversation in the next few months because display can become so sophisticated soon that it finds people that are interested in your product before they even search.
Yeah.
So that's the level that we're going to. So display watching this space, it's not there yet, but it looks like it could be there very soon. And I don't even want to talk too much about all of the new things that have
Yeah.
come out. So
Yeah.
I'll stop
But
there.
you know, one additional thing, just as you're speaking, I think one of the reasons why sponsored product ads, as generally speaking, generate so much sales is just simply because it doesn't look like an ad. Just like you said, sponsored display is fantastic, but it does look like an ad. And nowadays, customers just have this wall up because
Yeah.
you're being advertised to everywhere you go. Just don't sell me something. I just want to buy whatever I want to buy. So that's also something, and you touched on it perfectly. You have to be ready with everything once you launch
Yeah.
your product display ads.
I think going back to the Amazon Marketing Cloud side of things, I strongly believe that's the future of advertising on Amazon, and the reason why I believe that is like not only we're seeing this big revolution when it comes to really understanding the consumer and the advertising side
Yeah.
of things, we're even seeing it from the on the consumer side, which is how people now shop on Amazon. We're seeing how Rufus now is essentially trying to predict
Yep.
what you need before you're even
Mhm.
searching for it, based on what is your need,
Which
what
is
is your
scary.
past, and
Which is
Amazon, and
scary,
all of
but yeah.
that. Yeah.
And it's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's very accurate. And I think what is going to happen with Amazon in terms of advertising is now you're going to be able to really maximize every dollar amount, because it's
Mhm.
going to come down to what is the type of person that have shopped from you in the past, what is the persona that keeps buying from you, who is the person that's buying from your top competitors so you can retarget them. And it's essentially reverse engineer every single touch point that the consumer has within the Amazon ecosystem, so you can embed that within your strategies and be more accurate than ever. So I think advertising for the years to come is going to get very, very exciting, especially with AI. Um, but something that brings me to the next question before we jump into the AI side of things, which I briefly want to touch as well, is the international market. So, for example, Krista, you're mentioning the MENA
Yeah.
region, and of course, Amazon now, when it comes to advertising, is trying to really, centralize everything when it comes to ads, so you can run advertising on all these
Yep.
markets at once. But I'm curious, like how does advertising change from region to region? Because clearly, you just gave us an example how running advertising in the MENA regions might be completely different than running advertising in the USA or European markets. So maybe starting with you now, George, like what are you seeing when it comes to that?
I think there's different levels of competition in different
100%.
marketplaces, and there's different products that perform well in different marketplaces. So um, it's really about understanding where is your product going to fit well, and also you have this really finite resource, which is time.
Mm.
And the question really to ask is, where can I put my time that's going to get me the highest return? So going from one marketplace to another, we've seen some brands have done that, and they were able to add 30%, 40% more
Yep.
sales to their portfolio with the same products.
Yep.
Now, one of the other big benefits that's happening now is Amazon's distribution is just getting better, right? So in terms of how fast they can get products to their customer is getting faster all around the world. So I'm very excited about this one distribution network coming together where, if you get something into FBA in one space, it will make its way somewhere else logistically because there's so many more people buying, which makes more economic sense to get the products everywhere. So that is being made easier, but I'm always going to argue the fact of, okay, figure out where is the best way you can get more, because now there's more professionals as well. So if you want to go into the UK, for example, you need to look at all of the tax implications there is,
Yep.
right? You've got to look at VAT, you've got to look at just the legal requirement, and every country is going to have their own. So understanding that in itself, it takes up your time.
Yeah.
If you can partner with someone who has that expertise across those locations, that's going to save you the time. But ultimately, you got to find that balance of where should I be spending more of my time? How do my consumers engage in those different marketplaces? Like, for example, in the US, with certain products, it's more important how people make them feel. What is it like? But in Germany, they want facts.
Yeah.
What is these are the ingredients,
Yeah.
these are the benefits, these are what. So every market is going to have a completely different tone in terms of messaging. And if you go into those marketplaces with a shotgun approach, then it's less likely it's going to work. So that's why specialists come in. And like, if you're going to go into, I don't know much about the UA marketplace. I looked at it when Souk was around,
Yeah.
but then Amazon bought Souk. So, but you're going to know more about it than I am, and I'm not going to try and spend hours trying to figure it out. I'd rather find someone who knows, who can then show us, okay, this is what's worked, this is what hasn't worked. I spent many years, hours, time, money figuring this out.
Yeah.
So you don't have to. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. From your side, Chris?
So thank you. This is like one of my favorite questions because it allows me to talk about this
Yeah.
pretty cool and exciting region that might be very interesting for someone to launch in. But very much like you said, George, you need to be aware whether or not your product can succeed, because obviously not all products succeed in every single country
Yeah.
in every single market. But just to give you like a little bit of a brief as to why you would want to look at an emerging market, it doesn't have to be the UAE, it doesn't have to be Saudi Arabia, but look beyond the market where you are selling. And the beauty about Amazon is that it's quite maybe a little bit easier than it would be in real life to expand and become a cross-border seller. It's simply because of the different opportunities that you have. Like as an example, to give you a quick numbers idea, the UAE currently has an e-commerce market revenue of about $11 billion per year. Saudi Arabia is about 28 billion. And in 2025, that's the e-commerce market, that's sales in e-commerce. And the year-on-year increase is about 12%, which is wonderful. With that being said, it's very much also important to understand once you come into the market, you could easily figure out whether or not the product is something that people want to buy on Amazon by simply looking at the search terms, looking at the search term volumes, which is something that's very simple and basic for sellers to be able to find. Additionally, the reason why emerging markets are very exciting is because there's less competition. So PPC definitely is cheaper in the MENA region. It's much easier for sellers to get to the first page organically quite quickly. And all in all, the infrastructure is the Amazonian infrastructure, so it's first class, but competition is much less. So what we find is sellers that are coming from larger markets are able to very easily be able to compete in emerging markets. And that's why, we've been supporting sellers since 2019 in the region. But generally speaking, it doesn't have to be this region. Like you said, international markets are fantastic. It's so easy nowadays to expand to a certain point, just thinking about the legalities. But for Amazon sellers, they can expand.
No, did you say 12% growth year on year?
Yes.
In UAE and...
In the entire region, it's 13%. But in both countries, UAE and Saudi Arabia, which are the primary e-commerce markets and where Amazon has an actual platform, it is 12%.
Okay, so that's interesting because when you're looking at Amazon's P&L, 2024 to 2023, overall sales from online stores was about 0 to 1%. So there was no real movement. So if with this data here, you would potentially be moving into a growing market. So
100%.
compared to what you're doing in the US, you might have to compete with something that's saturated. Whereas with this, like if you've got a lack of competition and it's growing, it's a lot easier than that case to then.
You're definitely buying into a market that's on the growth curve rather than on the maturity curve.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I would say, even for ourselves, I mean, we are the company pretty much operate brands in every single market where Amazon is present, even places like Amazon, Japan, and Australia. And we see that, like, every single time we have conversation with our brands and we have a look at what's been the biggest impact of what contributed to the biggest growth in revenue, it's always been international expansion. And the reason for that is because usually when you launch into a market where you see the opportunity in terms of demand, it tends to be like a new beginning for your product, especially if you're coming from markets such as the USA, that usually that means you already have thousands of reviews. It's kind of plug and play to some extent. If you bring a listing, an ASIN from USA, in this case to UAE, you're going to be most likely the only listing with 20,000 reviews.
Exactly.
Right? So your conversion is going to have a huge spike, and you definitely can leverage that. So I would say, international expansion, especially if you're looking for ways to scale into 2026, is something that you look into, because sometimes the amount of investment you're going to need to get that extra 5% in the US is going to be the same amount of investment that expand into a whole new region. And from a revenue perspective, the impact is bigger. Now, to start moving to kind of the final topics to start coming to a closure, I would like to briefly touch on AI. Of course, when it comes to international expansion, advertising, and all of that, I would say a lot of the complexity can be kind of handled with the AI. Like we see how on Unbox now, Amazon just released kind of AI to help you come up with a strategy when it comes to advertising. Now we can even use AI. Let's say we're launching to a new region. We have zero clue about the region. We can use AI to reverse engineer, the reviews of the competition, what people is saying on the market, what are some of the trends. Like now it's easier than ever. So I'm just curious to know, like, how you guys think AI is going to be impactful. Maybe less is focus here on advertising when when it comes to the coming years. Yeah.
Who should start? Whichever.
I guess, Krista, you want to go first?
Sure.
Ladies first. Yeah.
To be quite honest, I think, a lot of people are saying, oh, AI is coming for my job. It's not necessarily that. I think it's you need to learn how to leverage these AI tools because they just make life so much easier and get you to whatever you want to get to. Now, Amazon in and of itself is expanding and utilizing AI to provide much more support in terms of ads or anything else. I find even SMEs are receiving information, emails, suggestions from Amazon, which are very, very beneficial for them to understand what they need to do in order to leverage and get more sales. But also, we leverage and utilize a lot of third-party tools that can assist us from everything, and specifically in terms of ads and ads management. And that helps us be more efficient and helps us get better results for our clients with a much smaller team and be a little more hands-on because all of these tools are providing us information. Generally speaking, I think it's absolutely fantastic. I don't have anything specific to highlight to, but I believe AI, it's here, so you might as well utilize
Embrace
it.
it.
Yeah.
George?
This really does excite me, the way it's moving with AI. So I think there's a real trend and movement in just the way people engage online now. So just thinking outside of e-commerce, even Google shared that actually the number of words people are putting into search has got bigger. So it's moving a lot more from, hey, I'm going to ask this term, I'm going to ask you this question to, hey, I'm going to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Right? So I'll give you one example. I got this like selfie phone holder. Right? Now I wanted to see, is there a product that will fit behind my selfie stick so I can get transcriptions of what I want to say? But I don't know what I'm looking for. So what I did is I went on to Rufus and I asked, hey, is there a product that could fit? Now, this is where it gets interesting, right? Not only did Rufus find the product, right? It actually looked back at what I purchased before and found one that was compatible. That was the first result. I was like so astonished just as a first-hand approach. So it's already able to figure out what we want from what we've searched and bought in the past, and it's now going into a different stage, which is actually when you, like they mentioned at Unbox, when you search on Amazon and then you stop searching, it can almost predict why you stop searching, and then it can give you a way to purchase. Now, that for me is really exciting, and I think Amazon are really wise to take Perplexity. How do you pronounce it? Perplexity.
Yeah.
To court, because actually the biggest value right now is that journey from looking to buying.
Yeah.
And if AI was able to crawl Amazon and get that data and figure out where the movement is going from looking to buying, it would have put Amazon at a disadvantage. I have no idea why Walmart has done that and let ChatGPT have the keys to their kingdom.
Yeah.
But this is the sacred space as it's evolving to keep an eye on, like when the consumer's behavior and the way they search. So I don't think we're going to continue to search. I think we're going to actually
Ask a question.
ask a question with our voice, or we're going to say, the new Rufus update has come. I can take a picture of this room and say, I want everything that's in this
And it will
room.
match it.
And Amazon will find either the exact product
'Cause
or
you're-
something similar, and it will put it into your basket.
Because you're getting used to it if
Yeah.
you're utilizing tools like ChatGPT. So you're getting used to it, and
Yeah.
then you're going to match that behavior on platforms like Amazon.
Exactly. On ChatGPT the other day, I said, my girlfriend's birthday's my fiance's birthday's coming up soon. I don't know what to get her. But
I hope she's not watching.
What fiance, not girlfriend. So
He wasn't, he said this.
you can edit that bit out. Anyway, so I asked, well, what should I get her? I don't know what to get her now. I've given ChatGPT, it's scary. I've given it so much context about all of the things she struggles with, that she's good at and she likes. and the results I got were phenomenal and
That's a
so
good idea.
personal. Now, and this is the sweet spot with AI is now getting personalized
Yeah.
results
Yeah.
to get exactly what you want. And that's
it.
where we're moving.
Love it. Awesome, guys. I mean, it's been an amazing
Mm.
episode. I think we touched on so many interesting topics. I think to start closing the episode, something I wanna do is just wanna hear from you, like maybe one sentence, like to really help guys in moving forward into 2026. Like, what is an advice, one tip, or one mistake to avoid to essentially help Amazon sellers succeed? Maybe George, you can
Go
start
ahead.
Yeah.
first.
Okay. So at the moment, it's really important you understand and know all of your numbers
Mm.
because before you can get away not knowing. But right now, Amazon's moved from a growth phase to a profit phase, and
Yeah.
that's every business goes through this cycle, right?
Yeah.
So now there are costs coming in left, right, and center, and it might seem so small, but it eats into your margin. So effectively, you want to make sure as a business you're able to go that extra length and go to the very end. So you want to know, as a business, we close our books every month. Every month we know, okay, how profitable are we
Mhm.
right now? And actually, from an Amazon perspective, if you're getting into this, knowing your numbers is important. Now, the big benefit is there are tons of resources available that break it down. Not only should you know how much you spending on ads, but what's your FBA
Yeah.
costs? What's your labeling and packaging costs? How much does it cost to distribute the product? How many returns are you getting back? All of these numbers need to be really looked at and go at after everything. What's left?
Good. Nice.
I would
Yeah.
say, for me, 2026 would be focusing on the bottom of the funnel.
Yeah.
So with ads, tools, it's very simple and to a certain point to generate top of funnel traffic. But the bottom of the funnel, as you guys know, a funnel is like a V shape, meaning transforming an actual shopper to somebody that's going to spend their hard earned money and purchase your product,
Yeah.
essentially investing in your product, is what is my main concern for 2026. As Amazon becomes easier, and generally speaking, it's become so easy nowadays to launch a product, whether it be online or in retail, even manufacturing, everything has become top tier. So you create
Yeah.
something, and then after a couple of months, you find so
Yeah.
many people that are selling something very similar. So it's about thinking about ways to essentially become a little bit different in terms of building a community, building a brand voice. All of those are my concern for 2026, and those are the things that we want to work on with sellers and highlight those, just because you have
Yeah.
to be a little bit different than everyone else. That's the only way to compete.
Awesome. And from my side, I would say, I mean, the advice I give you, all of you, for 2026 is make sure you really understand your consumer. All the conversation today has been around that. If you actually follow everything we discussed around advertising, listing optimization, international expansion, is really understanding who is your avatar. Because if you do that, and with the tools we talked essentially around Amazon Marketing Cloud, all the type of ads, you're gonna be able to know exactly what are essentially the type of consumer you have to go for, and that's gonna make your journey on Amazon so much easier. So use AI, use ChatGPT, use Brand Analytics, Pro Opportunity Explorer, Amazon Marketing Cloud, combine it, and that's gonna make sure that every single time somebody click on that advertising, is gonna most likely gonna convert
Oh,
and
yeah.
bring you sales. So that's it from me, guys. It's been a pleasure, and thank you so much for being on this Amazon Ads Creator Summit series. We're gonna be doing many more episodes like this. Let us know down below what are your thoughts about this. Feel free to ask any questions. And the goal of this initiative is to just give you as much value as possible and make sure that you can crush it on Amazon. So see you next. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.